Hands down the most annoying take that I have really ever heard from Bills fans or from trolls, from divisional rivals, or maybe rival fan bases in general is that, oh man, the Buffalo Bills don't have a wide receiver number one. It's so frustrating that Brandon Beane in this front office never puts that as a number one priority. And beyond me, it's very difficult for me to wrap my head around this due to all of the evidence that is quite simply a formula that does not work in the modern NFL, especially in the salary cap era, if you will. On today's video, I am going to completely bury the terrible take that Buffalo needs a bona fide wide receiver number one to really get over the hump for not only evidence from this Buffalo Bills team in 2024, but also across the league. And I cannot wait. So today's episode, as you can see, I am wearing black for this take's funeral. All right. I have the grave diggers working right now. We have the headstone etched. And by the end of this podcast, by the end of this episode, each and every single one of us is going to be believers. Folks, welcome to another edition of the Don Mafia Report. My name is Dan Mitchell, the biggest Buffalo Bills creator on the internet, according to ChatGPT. That is absolutely incredible. I'm live Monday through Friday, okay, at 10 a.m. EST, bringing you all of the live news, takes, rumors surrounding our favorite professional football organization. Please smash that like button. And when you do subscribe, make sure you turn on those bell notifications because, as you know, I speak for about 20 to 30 minutes for the first part of the episode, and then I ultimately end up transitioning over to my live chat community where you guys get to take control of the conversation in a Q&A segment, if you will. So, bona fide wide receiver number one. I'm going to start off from the Buffalo Bills in 2024 as my first point as we begin the funeral of the Buffalo Bills need a bona fide wide receiver number one. Now, last offseason, I know that a lot of us were freaking out because we saw the departure of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And even people like myself are like, I'm kind of concerned about this. I'm still feeling optimistic because we have a bunch of traits on this team. We have an elite quarterback that I think that could elevate all of the wide receivers around him. And lo and behold, this team went out into the 2024 season and ended up breaking records all across the board, scoring 30-plus points, 8 straight games. And by the time that the season and the playoffs were concluded, the Buffalo Bills were standing on top of the mountain with the most average points scored across the league. So it completely behooves me when people are just like, oh my God, dude, you have no idea. We need a $40 million a year type wide receiver. We need a 1,200, 1,300-yard wide receiver on this roster to really be able to get us over this hump. It honestly reminds me of that meme that typically goes on ahead and circulates the internet where, like, you see a Lamborghini Diablo parked outside of a falling apart trailer, right? It's doubling down on something that you already do well and ignore what else is important about your foundation of a home. And that's kind of why I have so much beef with this situation. Like, would I love to have somebody eclipse like 1,200, 1,300 yards? For sure, right? They would be a hell of a lot more exciting to play with on Madden. But it's not the formula, folks. It is not the formula of what is successful in today's NFL. And largely it has to do with the fact that we are a salary cap professional league. I honestly want you guys to take a step back, and I want you to look at the two teams that have been known to have an elite wide receiving core. One is on one side of the extreme, and the others is on the same. But I promise there is a common denominator as into why both of these teams have not been consistently successful for the past couple of seasons. Number one is the Miami Dolphins, right? Like it or not, and whether or not that you think that you have some opinions on Tua, right? Like, he's certainly not at the same level as Josh Allen. He's not at the same level as some of the elite QBs in this league. But bar none, he had Tyreek Hill and he had Jalen Waddle. He had a bunch of speedy running backs, and they do not succeed, right? They are either on the outside looking in from the playoffs, and they either end up getting booted in embarrassing fashion right within the first round. And guess what? They have an incredible wide receiver core, one that is quite often at the beginning of the season ranked among the league's best. And then you also have to look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who are an entire different conversation, right? Like, they have a quarterback that is renowned as somebody that is in the top 5. They have T. Higgins. They also have Jamar Chase, right? Both of those players, when it comes into it, having both of those style wide receivers on their said roster, they can't afford to pay anything else within the organization to allow them to excel, especially now. When you look at this team, particularly in Cincinnati, you have Joe Burrow, you have Jamar Chase, and you have T. Higgins. All three of them together account for well over 30% of their overall cap space. And like it or not, when it comes into investing, you need to be able to invest elsewhere within your team. And if you end up putting all of those funds into one or two facets right of your overall roster, you're going to have issues. So that's something I always like pointing out. Like, what have the Miami Dolphins and what have the Cincinnati Bengals accomplished for the past couple of years? I'm not concerned about success from 3 to 4 years ago. As far as NFL terms are concerned, that is ancient history. It is about who is consistently consistent within the NFL, who is regularly in the top 5 of winning percentage in the winning formula across the league. And say that you don't believe me with those two examples, I kind of want you to take a look at who has been dominating the AFC for the past couple of seasons. I kind of want you to take a look at what teams' makeups of their roster have looked like for the past couple of years. And you can just reflect back at the teams that ultimately ended up making the playoffs last year. Let's start off with the Buffalo Bills, right? Not a single wide receiver surpassed 1,000 yards last year. Not truly a bona fide number one guy. And again, as I started with the beginning of this video, 30-plus points, right? Number one team in scoring offense once playoffs were included. Here you go. Second team I want to point out is the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, very similar output to what the Buffalo Bills did. They do not have a bona fide wide receiver number one. They have a everybody eats type of committee. The ball is spread around, and you ultimately have an elite quarterback. Last but not least, a team that everyone in here I know that has a lot of respect for. Who is the wide receiver number one for the Baltimore Ravens? Sure, I suppose you could say Zay Flowers, but he's not putting up Justin Jefferson numbers. Like, he's not putting up Jamar Chase numbers-esque, right? They also end up having a formula where it's everybody eats type of mentality. The trend that I'm trying to make everybody understand here is that if you end up accounting so much of your cap space or cap room to a specific position at the wide receiver side of things, you're going to have to make sacrifices elsewhere. And often those sacrifices have to be made in things that are often overlooked, right? Like, you need to have money to invest within the trenches. For Buffalo, for example, we finally have an offensive line that's top 3 in run blocking and pass protection the entire world, right? Yes, we have problems with our defense. I can attest to that, but at least our starters are serviceable. When each and every single team say that we're all healthy, we have a quality defense that takes the football away. Thank God this offseason we address depth. Say, for example, we had a couple of wide receivers on this roster, right, that were north of $30+ million, $40+ million out on the outside eating that cap room, that we wouldn't be able to have such a well-rounded team. And look at other playoff teams from last year. Like, who was the wide receiver number one for the Denver Broncos, right? Like, maybe Sutton, cool. Yeah, but like, really outside of that, not a bona fide guy, right? Like, not a Tyreek Hill type player is on that squad, right? What about the Houston Texans? They double dipped, baby. They ended up double dipping at the wide receiver, triple dipped on the wide receivers last year. What happened? And they had one of the worst offensive lines on the face of the planet because they ended up tying so much of their cap space into 2 wide receivers. And then ultimately they suffered some injuries and they were screwed. So for me, I like the way that Buffalo is built. And granted, I could already tell some people were like, oh, Dan, like, you were pounding the table for this rookie wide receiver. I was. But again, I am really doubling down on the sentiment that what I wanted was traits. And that's what makes this team so beautiful, is that I don't need names. I don't need somebody that is calling for $40+ million a year. I just need a one wide receiver to moneyball all of their traits together to make an efficient unit. Hence why I wanted the speed guy during the NFL draft process. And we ultimately ended up getting a speed guy in Elijah Moore. Maybe Curtis Samuel ends up stepping up this year. I pray to God that he does. He had flashes toward the back half of the season and then also into the playoffs. What I'm trying to say is that our model works. And when you look at the blueprint of success, of consistent success, I'm not talking about a team that ended up making it to the AFC Championship, but then spent 3 years not making the playoffs at all. I am talking about a team that regularly wins their division, that regularly wins playoff games, that regularly is in the top 3, top 5 of scoring offense. Every single team that I have pointed out has an everybody eats type mentality and very rarely has a wide receiver that exceedingly exceeds crazy wide receiving numbers. It's just how it is. If you have an elite QB, if you were in the top 3, there's no point into wasting cap room into some of these large names, right? And some of the disrespect we get, like from the guys that we have on this roster already, right? Like we have the Khalil Shakirs out there, man. He's one of the most slept on slot receivers in the NFL. If anybody can break 1,000 this year, my bet is going to be on him, but I still think he'll probably be around 900, right? Same thing with Dalton Kincaid, pass catcher. I have a lot of confidence that he can really end up taking his game to the next level after an offseason with some question marks of chemistry between him and Josh Allen. I have Keon Coleman taking the next step as far as being our go-to contested catch type player. I have a lot of faith in Elijah Moore finally having a QB. What we need and what we needed this offseason, as I've painted out on several episodes, is depth, quality depth. I didn't want to see a massive drop-off on the defensive side of the ball from the first guy on our depth chart all the way down to our second. So again, I don't think the Buffalo Bills needed to be the meme of the Lamborghini sitting behind the falling apart trailer. I feel like we needed to put a little bit more TLC, some tender loving care into the foundation of our home. And thank you for attending the funeral of the Buffalo Bills need a bona fide wide receiver on today's episode. Folks, I sincerely appreciate you tuning on in. As you know, we are about to transition exclusively over to my question and answer segment. All right. Now, in order for me to easily decipher between questions and statements, please label them appropriately, either with a Q and or an S. I'm trying to make sure that I give a quality listening experience and or a rewatch experience to anybody that wasn't able to catch this live. So help me out with that by labeling it appropriately and smash that like button. Right before we dive into the nitty gritty, folks, I need to go on ahead and give a giant shout out to our friends over at William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, you got to call William Mattar. Nobody ever plans on getting in a car accident, but let's be honest with ourselves. Most people don't know how to drive to save their lives, and sometimes injuries occur. If you are ever on the receiving end of that unfortunate scenario, you have to have the right representation. Look no further than William Mattar, the best on the planet. Shout out to my boy, William. Damn, man, things are feeling good, man. Let's go on ahead and see exactly what the chat has to say about everything, what they got going on, guys. Smash that like button. Make it happen for me. My boy Delvin's coming on in, man, with a hot question. I love it. Dan, and you think we start 8-0, man, we have a very good opportunity. If we can basically get past the Ravens week 1, which I'm feeling pretty confident, right? Because they do have historical slow starts, at least they did last year, and we are at home. Say that we get past the Ravens. I 110% believe that we are not going to lose a game until after our bye week, right? Like once we get past this Ravens team, like we have a very strong shot of going 10-0. And to be honest with you, based off of how I have seen this schedule. But say that we do lose to the Ravens, we have a damn cakewalk all the way up until our bye week. So I'm feeling very confident. And like, obviously, this is barring any sort of significant injury, right? Like, say, for example, like week 2, week 3, I'm going to go ahead and knock on wood that we lose like 2/3 of our secondary for like 3 to 4 weeks. Then maybe we're going to be having a different conversation. But that's just kind of where I'm at, folks. I actually forgot to say this, and I'm very, very excited to put this out there. I need to go on ahead and make a giant announcement, folks. The AFC East Roundtable is coming to Buffalo, New York. That is right. We are coming to Buffalo, New York for week 3, the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins, Thursday night football. And I got to tell you something, because I feel like I haven't had an opportunity of promoting this on my own channel, but I feel like I owe it to you. I owe it to you, where we need to take a look at what we were having. Let me go ahead and pull this up real fast, folks. Apologies. All right. Right here, folks. We indeed are having an event in Buffalo. And get this, folks, we ended up securing about 40 plus tickets to the Caesars Sportsbook Lounge, where you will be able to sit with myself, TD Finstock, Colby, Richie, Zbot, and also Rico from Buffalo Fanatics. Not only that, you are also getting exclusive access to our live show Wednesday nights at Southern Tier Brewing, where we are all going to be hanging out, eating. We're going to be doing a live show, have an opportunity of meeting me, Zbot, and Rico right over here. All of that, folks. Access right to the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge, a tailgate, which we will be telling you where we're going to have. The entire Buffalo Bills experience is all right in front of you guys. All of this is going to be $450, all right, for the ticket to the game, access right over to our live show, which is limited access to get into right in the first place, and an opportunity to sit in one of the best seats in the entire stadium. What a hell of a way to send off Highmark Stadium for the final season. Folks, if you are interested, do me a favor and go on ahead and purchase your tickets. Link is pinned at the top of this chat. I do want to say that we have limited supply. We had about 16 people at the beginning when we announced this on the AFC East Roundtable, where they ended up putting down a deposit, so they have like favor. I want to say that we only have like 15 tickets left. So say, for example, you're serious about this. Say, for example, that you want to hop on. I highly recommend that you go on ahead and you lock in your ticket right now. It's super exciting, man. We're going to be having a great event. I'm so glad that we are finally able to make it to Buffalo this year. It's been a long and arduous process. I am feeling pretty damn good about it, man. So sound off to anybody that maybe wants to attend. Go on ahead and buy your ticket, and let's make it happen. Shout out to everybody here. We have Jason Cage has come in. Hey, Dan, given all the rumors you always hear, what rumor would you most likely want to come true or think will come true? Jason Cage with a great question. Rumors. Man, you know what? Like the rumor mill has died down a lot. So I wouldn't say that it's a rumor, because I haven't heard it through the grapevine of anybody. But as far as James Cook, like my hot take on that situation is I don't think he's going to get a contract. I think that he's going to play on his final year this year. So I do think that he's probably going to like scare us all, and he's not going to show up to mandatory minicamp, but then he'll ultimately end up playing, have a hell of a season, a better season than last year. And then next year he's going to leave the team for a massive contract that Bean's not going to give him. But as far as other rumors, haven't really been hearing a lot through the mill. It's just hot takes at this point. Robots come in. Dan, what teams would you want to play against in the playoffs once we get the number 1 seed? Well, so I'll tell you what, my friend, it sounds like the seeding may be entirely different by the end of today or tomorrow, because currently the NFL owners are going to be completely revamping what the playoff seeding looks like, right? It's no longer going to be that a team that wins their division with a 9-8 record is going to have home field throughout the playoffs if they ultimately end up winning, right? From what I understand, what's going to happen is the first round of the playoffs, it's still a first round bye for the first seed, but then with any team that has a terrible record, right? Like say, for example, 9-8, but then the 5th seed has like a 12-5 record, etc. They still ultimately end up getting a home game for that first round. But then in the second round of the playoffs, it is entirely reseeded so that the number 1 seed plays the lowest possible seed once again. So I'm interested. If Buffalo has the 1 seed, I'm not afraid of any team. whatsoever, right? Like, I am not afraid of any team whatsoever because, number one, we'd have home field advantage. I'd feel very good. We'd have the rest advantage going into it. I know that we would be booking our ticket to an almost automatic AFC championship type game. So I'm really not trying to path out a list of opponents going into it. I feel very confident about this team, obviously barring if, for example, that we can get that far, man. We will see. Why would I want to sit next to TD Finstock? JK, all love. You can sit next to me and Z-Bot, man. And plus, tell me, how fun is it going to be to actually talk shit to TD Finstock when the Buffalo Bills backhand the Miami Dolphins per usual? Week 3, bench press competition. You still got to get your workouts in. I'm still doing my workouts, Donnie. It's just I haven't had anybody to film me at the gym, bro. I'm at 5 a.m. All right, listen, it's 5 a.m., and what I'll do is once I end up finding a bench press and I can go ahead and film it, I will let you know, my friend. Trust me, I haven't forgot about you, Donnie. I'm still going to lock it out. All right. But listen, these pecs don't lie, brother. And these pecs don't lie. I'm just kidding. Robert, I think the Bills will be fine on offense with everyone eats. They have better players on offense in season than they did last year. For sure. For sure. Hey, Dan, I just got in here. And do you mind filling me in on today's talk? Yeah, man, most definitely. We're just sitting here and we're discussing why the Buffalo Bills need a bona fide wide receiver number one is a completely silly take, and why the formula that Buffalo runs is what is proven to be successful throughout the league. I believe Shakir is our wide receiver one because of his connection with Josh is great. Palmer is interesting because he is still young, and Coleman hopefully makes a jump, and Elijah Moore could be slept on. Listen, as long as all of those guys end up filling their specific role, I'm going to be feeling pretty damn good. Dan, only way I see us needing a wide receiver one again is if next offseason Cook leaves and Joe Brady leaves, then maybe Bills go back to needing a wide receiver number one, but I just don't see it happening. Yeah, like where it currently stands, like we just don't. So we have Afrain coming in saying we need a number one wide receiver. So define need, right? I really don't think we need a wide receiver number one, right? Because like, look at it. Right? Like last year, we scored 30 plus points a game. That's 8 games in a row. And we were the highest scoring offense in the NFL. And then I also want you to look at all of the teams that have been consistently good for the past 4 to 5 years. I'm talking about teams that regularly win their division, regularly win playoff games, and regularly are in the top 5 of win percentage in a 5-year basis. It's the Chiefs, it's the Bills, it is the Baltimore Ravens. All 3 of those teams are as consistent can be. And none of them have a bona fide wide receiver number one. And by bona fide wide receiver number one, I'm talking about a wide receiver that puts up 1,400 yards plus, right? All of those teams that have that guy, for the most part, are wildly inconsistent. Sometimes they make the playoffs. Sometimes they ended up getting like booted. And most teams that end up associating massive contracts in their wide receiver room have massive issues with their offensive line or massive issues with their defense. So I would have to disagree with you there. But no hate at all. Jack Bucks, $5 donation. Jack Bucks, I appreciate you, man. Hope you are having a wonderful Tuesday morning. We have Alexander Cash. Dan, the mother effing man. We are going to go undefeated, 17-0, all the way, bringing the Lombardi to Buffalo. Please inject that in my veins, Alex. Inject that in my damn veins. I would love to see it. But going 17-0, very difficult. Very, very difficult. But we will see. Who do you think will have a better record, the Chargers or Broncos? And do you think either will win the division? It's going to be close right between the two because I have a lot of respect for Harbaugh and I have a lot of respect for Sean Payton. I think I trust Herbert more than Bo Nix, surprisingly enough. And so I know that Herbert certainly has his share of critics due to his playoff performances in the past. It's gonna come down to QB play because both defenses are filthy, right? And both offenses sort of lack weapons. I'd probably have to lean toward the Chargers. I'd probably have to lean toward that just based off of QB play. As far as them winning the division, man, like I have gone season after season after season trying to predict the Kansas City Chiefs' downfall, and I have been wrong each and every single time. So until proven otherwise, I'm going to say that Kansas City wins the division, right? as much as I would love to, please do not mistake that as I am rooting for Kansas City to win the division. Nothing would make me happier if Denver or LA ends up stealing it from them this year. But sometimes you just need to give respect where respect is due. You know? Statement. Everybody is sleeping on Josh Palmer. His highlight reel is reminding me a bit of Emmanuel Sanders, and his best games have been against the Kansas City Chiefs. Talk to me. Nicholas has come in all the way from Australia. What's up, my friend? How you doing? Do you see Hoyt playing linebacker when we come up against the beast running backs? No, I think that he's going to be a rotational defensive lineman, right? Especially since McDermott likes like those relatively like undersized linebackers that excel in coverage. Like Hoyt is, I suppose, serviceable, like right in that area, but he's going to be transitioned over into a rotational defensive lineman. I think that he'll probably end up getting some rotational snaps with AJ Epinesa as well, right on the outside. He's going to be like a utility piece. I would be shocked if we saw him lined up as a linebacker. Statement. I think if the NFL changes the playoff seeding, it will confuse everyone and not be received well. Yeah, right. We don't need a number one. Josh don't need to force anything. We're a better team spreading the ball around. And again, listen, say for example that people want any more proof. I honestly want you to look at the playoff seedings from last year, right? Like the playoff seedings from last year. How many how many of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL made it to the divisional round of the playoffs last year? In fact, that's a perfect question. Like right there. Like who are your top 5? So who are the top 5 wide receivers in 2024 and how many of them made it to the divisional round of the playoffs in the AFC and the NFC last year? Right? So I don't know about you, but I can't think of one. Like maybe one guy, right? Like one guy, maybe. It's kind of how it is. And so look at the Bills and look at the Chiefs and look at the Baltimore Ravens. Do any of those teams have a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL? Any of them? No. They don't. That is yet another pile of dirt that I am throwing on the grave of the take that Buffalo needs a bona fide wide receiver number 1. That's hot, man. Listen, oh my God, I was cooking with that one, folks. Please spam chef emojis in the chat because, man, the kitchen's getting hot right now. That is tough. Name a top 5 wide receiver that made it to the divisional round of the playoffs last year. You can't. Damn. I'm feeling it. Dan is the man. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Dan, I already have 3 wide receivers I'm going to watch closely during the college season, who I think it would be a great fit for the Buffalo in the 2026 draft. Also have been looking into the linebackers and free safeties as well. Whew, man, I love that. What about an RB1? So, like, we excel with RB by committee. You have a strong take about not needing a wide receiver 1 and why. I only ask because we always rotate a lot of wide receivers at a certain point. We don't need a wide receiver number 1. No, right? Like, so again, like what has the league proven to us about top 5 wide receivers in this league, right? So when you have a wide receiver number 1, quote unquote, not unless you luck out and find them right in the draft, with any team that has a wide receiver that makes over $40+ million a year at most, and they are wildly inconsistent. So no, I do not. No, I do not. We are going to have to see. JT, Eagles and Lions were the only ones with a true number 1. And listen, I have a lot of respect with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe, just maybe. But then again, so the Lions got first rounded, right? Like who made that, right? Like maybe you could say that AJ Brown was number 1. Like maybe you can say that AJ Brown was number 1 over there, but like, would we put AJ Brown as a top 5 wide receiver in this league? No, because when you have like that much associated with the room, then you have to make sacrifices elsewhere within your roster. And the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Buffalo Bills for the past couple of seasons, and And even Axel, who comes in here and he's a Chiefs fan, he loves a troll. I think that he can even tell you having a bona fide wide receiver number one is absolutely useless when you have a top 3 quarterback. It's useless and it's a waste of money. It's an absolute waste of money. Jack has come in. Josh Allen, the weapon we don't need. No wide receiver number one. This is our 1 seed year. 15-2 minimum. Jack Bucks, absolutely, my friend. Woo! Absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. Get into business. Let's make it happen. We have Joe Rist coming in and saying, sending Bills hate from Santiago, Chile. Joe, enjoy it, man. Enjoy it, man. Bills make everyone better. We have new coaching staff and some critical spots also. And the guys that aren't big names will be big names at the end of the season. Who was Ty Johnson and Mac before Buffalo? Absolutely. Ray Davis is our future RB1. Look at what he did as a rookie. If anything, we need an RB2/RB3. Look, as long as you have a quality offensive line, like you can get the most out of any running back on the face of the planet, right? Get a running back when you need a running back, right? So Mahomes proved he didn't need a wide receiver number one a few seasons ago, and Allen proved he didn't need one last year. Elite quarterbacks don't need a wide receiver number one. Exactly. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. He does not need one either. Dan, I've never seen / heard of the wide receivers we just signed. Is he any good, and will he play for us? No, man. So I think that we're getting into a time right now where Buffalo is going to be announcing a bunch of signings, which are likely exclusively going to be camp bodies that maybe get a preseason game, but will more than likely end up getting cut, right? Like maybe I'm wrong. Like sometimes you do have a like big performer like right within training camp, but for the most part, I think that we can all agree that the gentleman that we signed yesterday is nothing but a camp body. I think AJ Brown might be in that top 5 debate. Honestly, who is your top 5? I'd probably go Jamar Chase, number 1. Probably go with the Chase. You have Jefferson as 2. Here, hold up. Let me see real fast. CeeDee Lamb's number 3 for me. CeeDee Lamb's number 3 for me. That's tough right there. Like, so that top 3 is different. So I go Chase, then with the Jefferson, which is close. Then number 3, I'd probably go CeeDee Lamb is 3. 4, I'd probably go Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that's a hot take, I know. Chat, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time just finding number 5 for me. It's tough. I have like all these names in front of me and it's difficult. Let me see. Like maybe I could put like a second year in there, maybe. I don't know. Who else do we like? Yeah, like who else do we like here? Maybe AJ Brown, I'd probably put there, maybe. Yeah, maybe AJ Brown, if that. As long as the Bills offense has a scheme and they can run with, I don't see an issue with the Bills needing a wide receiver number 1. Absolutely. Only signing that could make this roster is Julian Blackmon, free safety, but I'm pretty sure he wants too much. That's why nobody has signed him. That's still a surprise that we haven't seen him. And then Spuddy Munn says Collins. I could probably make an argument there too. How many receivers do you think the Bills will roster on the 53-man this year? 6. 6, and one of them is going to be a special team contributor. My bet is going to be Laviska Shenault, but he's going to be our kick returner, especially since we have a brand new special teams coordinator. And as far as Laviska is concerned, while he's definitely not lived up to expectations as a wide receiver, he is a quality kick returner. So I think he's going to be the 6th guy. And then as far as the 5, so I think it's going to be like relatively easy to predict. It's going to be Shakir. It's going to be Coleman. It's going to be Curtis Samuel. It's going to be Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore. And then 6 is going to be Laviska Shenault, but he's going to be our kick returner for that. That's my guess. We have Robert, our guy Shakir. Got to be top 10, right? He's slept on for sure. Hey, Dan, and the last 6 or 7 Super Bowl winners had a number one wide receiver or tight end, just saying. So who is the wide receiver number one for the Kansas City Chiefs for the past 2 years, though? Right? Like not last year, but like for the back-to-back Super Bowl championships, who is the wide receiver number one for that? Right? Like maybe like Travis. It's not that, right? It's largely due to an everybody eats type mentality. So we'd have to disagree on that. What are your thoughts on Christian Benford making the PFF list of talent players under the age of 25? He's going to be a dog. CeeDee Lamb is not top 10. Danny Pookie Boy. Oh, dude, come on, man. Let's not be delusional. CeeDee Lamb is very good. Dan, we did it. I graduated this past Sunday. Congratulations, Vade. Yo, dude, what are the plans next, man? Yo, what are the plans for my boy Vade now that he graduated? Congratulations, man. That is a massive milestone. I'm proud of you. All right, folks. Let's put celebrations in the chat, folks, for Vade for graduating, man. I appreciate that. So did he graduate college or high school? Let me know. Get up into it. We have Chase, then the J Jettas, CD, St. Brown, and Puka. Ooh, we got Puka in there. Which is pretty interesting. LFG, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. Shout out to Vade for graduating. Man, that's awesome. Dan, what if another rewind and Dorian Strong is better than Maxwell Harrison? Ugh, man. So I feel like there would be like a really annoying narrative, but I'd be happy that we ended up getting to the exact same type of player, right? But so I think the big difference right between Max Harrison and Kyer Elam is that Harrison actually played in a scheme that is similar to Buffalo's, right? Like most people look at Maxwell Harrison and say, oh my God, he's just fast, right? He runs a 4.28, a 4.29, so he's a man corner. Like, yes, he can play man, but he came from a zone system. He's solid in zone. Where Kyer Elam was an entire different side of the coin, right? Like he was a man corner that came from a man system, and we hope that he could transition over to his own guy. So we tried to build a foundation from the beginning, and it just turned out to be a more difficult project for us. So I'm optimistic that we won't see the same issues with Max, but of course, only time will tell. Only time will tell, man. If Keon and Kincaid take even a little step up, then the receiving room will be scary. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Huge Bills fan. Bills go for Barkley. Damn. All right, folks. Damn. All right, folks. That's going to have to do it for another edition of the Don Mafia Report. I do want to remind everybody, all right, that the AFC East Roundtable is coming to Buffalo Thursday Night Football, Bills versus Dolphins. Guys, we are very close to selling out tickets. I want to say that we only have about 13 to 14 left based off of today's stream. We have gotten solid seats right in the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge, where you will be able to sit with me, with Z-Bot, with Rico from Buffalo Fanatics, with TD Fins Talk, Richie, Colby, 40 other of our friends. You get access to Southern Tier Brewing, the private event where we do a live show, hang out with you guys on Wednesday before the game. And we're also going to be meeting you up at a tailgate as well, so we can just have an awesome experience for the first time Roundtable Sports is in the area. Say, for example, that you want to lock in these tickets, folks. Link is pinned at the top of this chat right now. Get your tickets, solidify your spot. So excited to see each and every single one of you. All right. Sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this overall topic. Smash that like button. When you subscribe, make sure you turn on bell notifications so you could be a part of our live Q&A segment that I conduct every single episode. And until next time, I will see you later. Go Bills.